And we're gonna go live.
Ooh.
All right.
Well, this is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is Wednesday, another confusing day, but it is Wednesday, April the 3rd. It's not a joke. And it's time
Nope.
for What in the World with Paul Seaburn, his sidekick, John DiNallo, and welcome on Wednesday.
Wednesday, hump day. That's right, Karen. Thank you so much for that great introduction. That's me, Paul Seaburn, the host of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news show. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. That's our goal. We hope that we accomplish that. And we're always open for you to let us know if we did or didn't. So, in fact, if we didn't, keep it to yourself. But if we did, let us know. Um, the voice, that first voice in your ear was none other than Karen Hale, our producer, co-host, and media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, which is our platform. Go to newclevelandradio.net for all the great podcasts that Karen produces, starting with What in the World. We are on Spotify and Apple and all the other great platforms. Plus, we are on YouTube. So please come and visit us on YouTube. Follow us there. It's a good idea because we generally have a photo or two to go along with each story. As always, we try to describe those photos as best we can, but it enhances your podcast enjoyment if you also take a look at the photos as well. So we ask you to do that. And the voice in your other ear is none other than John DiNallo, our other co-host and host of What in the World of Sports with John DiNallo. Hey, John, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, Paul and Karen and audience. It's another day, and it's time for a great show, and can't wait to get started.
Pressure's on from John there. So John, did you suffer from any April Fool's Day pranks?
I'm going to have to say this is probably one of the first years that I never fell to a prank. Maybe it's because I didn't see that many people on April Fool's Day. I don't know, but I can say confidently, Paul and Karen and
Yeah,
audience.
we're going to talk about. Thank you, Jill. We're going to talk about April Fool's Day in a second here. It was a harmonic convergence of holidays in Cleveland. For those of you who are not in the Cleveland area, which is where we're from, the Northeast Ohio area. It was the day after Easter. It was April Fool's Day, obviously. We were just talking about that. It was also the day after Easter, which is Dingus Day in Cleveland and also in other countries that follow a Polish tradition. And that particular tradition, when I was growing, and Eastern European as well, I grew up in a Slovak household. Um, the tradition was the day after Easter, the boys would take water or pussy willows and either splash the girls with water or hit them with the pussy willows. And allegedly, this would entice them to like the boys. And yeah, it's one of those Eastern European traditions. I seem to remember that the girls got revenge the following day and did the same thing to the boys. Um, to me, I think it's the result of gorging on chocolate on Easter Sunday and then boys being full of this sugar high and needing something to do, so they tormented the girl. But in any case, so that was in Cleveland. It's a national holiday. We had parades, we had pierogi eating contests. Um, Roads were shut down through John's old neighborhood in Parma, Ohio. The main drag is shut down because everybody is parked somewhere and going up and down Polish Village, which is what it's called, visiting all of the ethnic restaurants and food stores and throwing water and who knows what else they were doing.
Uh, it's a very good
And it's
description, Paul. Very good description. Very good.
Thank you. And I was not there yesterday. Anyway, I watched it.
All
In
right.
fact, I was, but I don't want to lose our time here. I was actually in the neighborhood today because I needed to pick up some stuff for next week, and all the stores are closed. It was such a tremendous event that they're taking 2 days off afterwards. So Tuesday and Wednesday, they took off. All the ethnic bakeries and the grocery stores, they were all closed. So anyway, so that's what's happening in Cleveland, Ohio on April 3rd, the 2 days after Dingus Day and April 1st. And what are we talking about today? Oh, we got some great stories today. We've got sleeping aids from Italy. You may not have heard of these, John, so these will be good for you.
Okay.
Unusual cats. Okay, we've got some unusual cats in Vermont that have a sports connection, and some strange hedgehogs in England. Very popular story on Facebook where I posted some information about it this week. Why you should blame your mom if you have a big nose. Uh, Marshmallows from okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Karen's going to be taking notes here, I guess. So,
Yeah.
no, I'm not saying that Karen has a big nose. No, we'll edit that part out. What marshmallows falling from space in Michigan, and the origins of the 5-second floor rule, which a lot of people abide by. I myself abide by that. We're going to find out where that came from. Plus, I got some more odd news. We've got world records. We've got trivia. We've got sports. John's got a great sport for us. So let's get right to it. I was the guest on Monday night on April 1st on Fade to Black with Jimmy Church of a very popular podcast in the paranormal world. Jimmy's a very funny guy. He does an April Fool's show every year, and he invited me to come on and talk about the history of April Fool's Day. And I was on for a half an hour. I just want to give you a couple of the funny things that I found about that particular holiday now that it's over and nobody can take revenge on me. So one of the theories is that it came from Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. And in the tale of the Nun's Priest Tale. John, did you read, or Karen, did you read Chaucer's Canterbury Tales when you were in school?
It was required reading at my high school, actually, in the class I took in high school. Yeah, I had to read that.
You remember anything?
Not a lot, to be honest with you. Doesn't mean it was not important at the time. Apologies to my English teacher, who was a great teacher, by the way. Oh.
That's what I said. The biggest April Fool's joke is all the people who say they read Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, but don't remember a damn thing about it, including me. So rumor has it that the Nun's Priest Tale mentions April Fool's Day. Now, I don't know if you remember the Nun's Priest Tale. I had to look it up, and I'll give you a really brief recap. It starts with a nun, and she goes to confession, and she kneels down in a confessional. She says, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I had never seen you without your collar on, so I didn't recognize you at that nude beach." That's the Nun's Priest Tale.
or so it goes.
Also an April Fool's joke. That's right. So the next theory comes from the Catholic Church. When the Catholic Church was taking over territories in Europe, it would try to let the pagans, the non-Christians, keep their religion for a while they converted them. So when they took over France had a holiday called Fool's Day, which was on April 1st. And they used to bring donkeys into the church. They would dress up they would cross dress. They would do some other things to release their pent-up hostilities from the previous year, because April 1st was the first day of the French calendar at that time. So they let them do it for a while, and they called the French April Fools as a result of it. And then the Catholic Church clamped down on it. The main reason for it also has to do with Pope Gregory and the Gregorian calendar. Because they weren't keeping good tabs on leap days and leap seconds and all the stuff we do now, January, the beginning of winter, like the first day of the year, was in April. So they had to fix the calendar. So they dropped 4 months and they moved the first day of the year from April 1st to January. So for the rest of the world, but the French didn't like that. So they kept April 1st as their first day of the year. Everybody called them April Fools as a result, because they were celebrating the new year on the wrong day. To me, all the rest of those people were fools, because on January 1st, they made their resolutions to give up booze. In the meantime, the French had 4 months where they could drink all the booze.
That's a great point that you bring up, Paul. That's a great point. Who's fooling who?
There you go. So I didn't know this as well. There's some rules involved with pulling April Fool's pranks. This comes from the Witchology website. So one of the rules is pranks are supposed to be performed before noon. If you perform it after noon, it's bad luck on the person doing the hoax, not receiving it. But if you don't respond to the prank with good humor, then you get the bad luck. So it's required to, no matter how bad the hoax is, for you to respond with humor. Otherwise, you get bad luck. Now I love this one. If you're fooled by a pretty girl, then you've got a good shot at marrying her. I don't know about that.
Well, that's something there.
Yeah. And then speaking of marriage, if men who get married on April Fool's Day will be ruled by their wives. So even if you get fooled by a pretty girl and you really do want to marry her, don't marry her on April Fool's Day or she'll rule you. We all know it doesn't matter what day you get married on. That happens.
You're absolutely correct.
I would agree.
That's right. And finally, children born on April Fool's Day will be lucky in everything except gambling for some strange reason. So I thought we had a lot of fun with it. Maybe we'll try that next year, have an April Fool's show. So let's get right to our first story here. According to a new study, sleeping with the blinds open can raise your risk of having a stroke by up to 43%, because it lets in street lights and sky, meteor lights and all the other stuff from the sky. Light pollution from traffic interferes with your body's natural sleep cycle. Not to mention, it also interferes. It gives you that shock when you see your neighbor's face peering into your bedroom window.
And that will do it too.
Yeah. So the thing that I thought was interesting about that was that they blamed it on blinds. And I think I have a photo to go along with this. For those of you who are not familiar with the concept, this is a typical view for all of us of Venetian blinds. Now, these are the traditional blinds that we grew up with as kids, the aluminum blinds. They've since been made smaller, and they call them mini blinds now. But all of us have seen these with the broken slats from somebody peeking through it. So if blinds are what's causing the lack of sleep, then we need to sue the Venetians, because all blinds are Venetian blinds. That's what we refer to them as. So do you know where Venetian blinds came from? There's my question for all of you out there. John or Karen, do you have a guess?
No idea. Never thought about it.
I'm going to take a stab at it and say Venice.
Ding, 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 ding. Hey, John goes home with Roy Hill furniture today for getting that correct answer. Actually, that's not the correct answer. Believe it or not, the Venetians promoted Venetian blinds, but they stole the idea from the Persians. The Venetians were great sailors, as you know, John, the Italians being on the Mediterranean Sea.
Sure.
And they went to Persia, and they stole the rugs, so we got Persian rugs. But the Persians actually invented blinds, and the Venetians liked the idea, so they took them back to Venice, and everybody thought that the Venetians invented them, so they called them Venetian blinds.
Interesting.
And then the first patent was not by an Italian, but actually by an Englishman. Edward Bavand was his name. He patented them, so somehow he gets credit for it as well. Venetian blinds were installed at a church in Philadelphia in the 1700s, and they became so popular that Venetian blinds were installed in Independence Hall where the Declaration of Independence was signed. So an accurate painting of the signing of Declaration of Independence should show George Washington or Thomas Jefferson closing the blinds so that women can't see what they're working on while they're in the Independence Hall, because obviously there were no women inside. There were no founding mothers. A great loss to the country, I would say. Karen is shaking her head and agreeing.
Yes, absolutely.
But the real thing is that movies would not be the same if we didn't have Venetian blinds. Think of all the movies, especially what's called film noir from the 50s and 60s, the detective movies and the spy movies with the dark, usually in black and white, and the shadows and the nighttime scenes. Think how different they would be if they didn't have Venetian blinds. And here's a couple of examples here. This is from John. I'll give John a chance to guess where that photo is from. John, do you remember, or do you recognize the actors?
Well, I believe I recognize the actor and actress. Is that from Psycho?
That's from Psycho. That's right. That's one of the scary scenes from Psycho, and I can't remember the name of either of them, but they're peering through Venetian blinds, so the shadow of the blinds is on them, and it's a wonderful, wonderful scene.
Anthony Perkins.
Anthony Perkins. Thank you, Karen.
And
And
Janet Leigh.
And Vivian Leigh.
I think that's Kim Novak. Yeah. Now, think of The Godfather without Venetian blinds. I have up here 4 scenes from various Godfather movies, and all of them have Venetian blinds in the background, with Marlon Brando, with Al Pacino. So it played a huge part. They should have given an Academy Award for blinds to The Godfather.
Some of my favorite films, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Mine too, John. Mine too. So, you know why blinds are called blinds?
Because you block out the sun?
What's that?
Because you block out the sun?
You block out the sun. That's right. It makes you blind to what's outside, and that would be the sun. So now I refer to cable news as blinds because they block out what's coming in from outside as well. But
that's a good one. Very timely. Very timely.
Karen brought up an interesting point. We have the eclipse coming up next week. Speaking of watching what's going on outside, so I don't have anything on the eclipse. I think the best thing to do is don't stare at it. Make sure you've got good eclipse glasses, and stay off the roads in Cleveland for sure.
Yeah,
because
exactly. And don't look for a hotel room around here.
No. That's right. Yeah. In fact, so are my spare bedrooms because my cousin's coming to visit. And she couldn't get a hotel, so she says, "Hey, cousin." Okay, let's move on to something more pleasant here. The world's only maple syrup reserve. Who knew that there was a reserve of maple syrup? It's located in Quebec, Canada, and it's low because of climate change and other problems with the trees. The maple syrup reserve is at a 16-year low. I think I have a picture of some maple syrup here. That's how bad it is. Yeah, you buy a bottle, you only get the about a fifth of it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's supposed to hold 133 million pounds of maple syrup in a year, and it only has 6.9 million pounds this year. So like 5%, a tiny amount. It's so bad. IHOP, the big pancake people, may have to start restricting servings and change their name to International Hour of Pancakes. Hour's over, put the cork in the maple syrup. Waffle House, the other, great supplier of syrup, they're training their waitresses to start telling people that buttered toast is also good for hangovers.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that is or not, but that's what I heard. Okay, so this is a picture here of oh no, that's not it. I thought I had a picture of the reserve. So the reserve is barrel after barrel, a huge warehouse full of maple syrup. So now the United States is worried about the maple syrup reserve. Our own, we don't have one. So they started one in Vermont, which is our maple syrup capital. So the USDA, Department of Agriculture, went to the University of Vermont and designated them as the United States Maple Syrup Reserve. John, I'm going to ask you a question. What is the mascot of the University of Vermont?
Oh boy, I think I knew this at one time. I'm trying to draw it out here.
Yeah, nothing to do with maple syrup.
No, I know that it doesn't have anything to do with maple syrup, Paul, but in Karen, in audience.
I'll give it to you. It's the catamounts, which sounds dirty, but it's not. It's a catamount is a cougar or a puma, not the dirty kind of cougar, but the animal. For the They didn't have a mascot at the University of Vermont, so in 1928 they ran a contest, and the choices were between a tomcat, a camel, a cow, or a catamount. That I can't imagine a cow being a mascot for a college, but that was one of the choices. By a vote, a very close vote of 138 to 126, the catamount became the first mascot of the university. And this is Charlie Catamount. That's what they named him. They also have a female Kitty Catamount, and they have a Catamount couple, which seriously, they perform at halftime. So that where the cat amount comes from, I guess. We'll move on. I don't have my horn.
Yeah.
Horn out for that one. So, John, this is a tough one. The conference that the University of Vermont belongs to is the American East Conference. Small Ivy League kind of schools up in the Pacific or in the Atlantic Northeast.
Sure.
They made history in 2018 in the Division I men's basketball tournament when they became the first number 16 seed to defeat a number 1 seed. When the University of wait, I got the wrong. I think I have the wrong school here. That's the University of Virginia. Never mind. We'll move on. So I just checked my notes here. Let's move on. Anyway, so they were in the tournament this year, University of Vermont. The men lost to Duke 64 to 47, and the women were in the NIT, and I think they played earlier this week. I'm not sure how they did. All right, let's move on to the next one here. A woman in Cheshire, England, rescued an abandoned baby hedgehog and cared for it overnight until she could get it to a wildlife hospital, where a veterinarian took the box, looked into the box at the baby hedgehog, and sadly informed the woman that the baby hedgehog was not sick, it was not shy, it was not dead, it was not moving because it was not a baby hedgehog. It was actually a pom-pom from a hat. And here's a picture of what she brought to the vet. Now, that's from a winter cap or a winter hat from a woman. She even put some cat food in there, and there's a little dish of cat food, and she was very concerned because the little hedgehog wasn't eating the cat food. So she thanked them for telling her that, and then she ran out and she sued the grocery store that she went to because they sold her 50 pounds of hedgehog chow when they showed it to her, when she showed the hedgehog to them. So they really took advantage of that little old lady. Now she's trying to look on Facebook to see if she can find the pom-pom, the owner of the hat, and return the little hedgehog to her. This is what an actual baby hedgehog looks like. So kind of from the top, I guess I could see where she might have been a little bit confused, but had she
it looks similar, obviously. It looks similar. Right?
Yeah, had she flipped it over, I think she would have seen that it was not a baby.
When she picked it up, couldn't she tell?
Yeah, she didn't bother picking it up. She said the veterinarian said that she brought it to the animal hospital and was concerned that it hadn't moved or pooped all night, which is the lovely Donna says that to me all the time. She says, you didn't move, you didn't poop all night. Is there something wrong with you? So the lady actually wanted the pom-pom back because she said it was a much better pet than any of the goldfish she ever had. So, anyway.
Wow.
Okay, so here we go. This is for you, Karen. A new study found that your facial features may have been influenced by what your mother ate when she was pregnant with you, during your pregnancy. And if she ate a lot of proteins, that protein diet is responsible for giving kids a big nose. Here's an example right here. Oh, that's, I thought I had another one here. There we go. There we go. So this poor monkey's mother must have just been gorging on hard-boiled eggs or something. So if you're pregnant and you're eating like your third carton of yogurt that day, and you feel some kicking, that may not be the baby's foot. That may be something else. Yeah. Now, Barbara Streisand's mother, her good Jewish mother, she must have been eating nothing but brisket, Karen. What do you say? Just oops, where am I? Oh, there we go. There's the lovely Barbara Streisand. What did she eat? Briskets and lamb chops. That's where she got all of her protein, I guess. For that. Now,
Yep.
I put this photo up because Barbara Streisand just had a new book out now, almost 1,000 pages, as big as her nose. And one of the things she mentioned is that she has never had plastic surgery. And you can see from this photo, although it's not quite a profile, but her face and her nose look basically the same as they did when she was a beautiful young singer and actress back. The 1800s, I believe, is when she started.
Oh boy.
So high protein foods would be so if you eat high protein foods when you're pregnant, it would cause more pronounced jaws and a thicker nasal cartilage. And if you eat low protein foods, you get slender faces and more pointy facial features. So if you want a kid who looks like a possum, you eat low protein food. Eat eat a lot of oatmeal, I guess. I don't know what I'm not really sure. Beech nut may probably make something. Beech nut, give your kid a big nose food. Strained. Karen, can you looking at your two sons, can you attribute their noses to anything you might have eaten during pregnancy?
I'm sure I did not eat a lot of protein, but their faces probably look like I did.
There you go. Okay. All right. We'll leave it. Okay. I picked this story for two reasons. The lady's name is Donna Jean Wild, and my wife's name is Donna Jean. So that's the first reason I picked it. But the real reason, Donna Jean Wild lives in Alberta, Canada, and she just broke the Guinness World Record for the longest time in an abdominal plank position for a female. When she maintained a plank, forget this, here's a picture of her, 4 hours, 30 minutes, and 11 seconds in a plank position. Now, this is on her elbows, not the push-up plank. But even so, she was not allowed, her stomach was not allowed to touch the ground, her knees, none of that, her nose. she was,
wow.
she said, 4 hours and 30 minutes. She got into the sport when she was a kid. And it was her dad took her to work. They take your daughter to work today at the lumber yard where he worked. And she took a look at all those planks and thought, hey, I could make some money doing this. So, now, I was thinking about it, and I could do this. John, you could do this. The problem is they don't allow you to do it on a mattress. You have to do it on a hard floor. Otherwise, we'd have 8 hours easily. Although I'll tell you, if I did a plank for 4 hours, that's how long it would take me to get off the floor. So,
wow. That's
So my lovely wife, Donna Jane, to her, a plank is what you have next to you during a football game when your husband's watching and you want to get his attention.
Oh.
So to successfully break the record, she had to have her forearms and toes touching the ground at all times. The remainder of her body must be lifted off the ground and kept straight throughout. So she had to maintain a flat body form for 4 hours and 30 minutes. I can't keep my body straight while I'm standing up, let alone in a plank position. I need a plank in my pants. That's what I need.
Wow.
She said what hurt the most was her elbows. What hurt the most were her elbows. I don't know. After I read this, I tried doing a plank, and what hurt the most after I did the plank was my face after falling to the ground.
Oh boy.
So she's a former high school principal. So she credited her students, her former students came and cheered her on. Well, of course they're cheering. She gave them a day off of school just to come and watch her do a plank for 4 hours. So I would have cheered too. Anyways, so regular listeners of our podcast know that 2 out of 3 of our co-hosts here are big fans of anything that has to do with Michigan. And that's not me. But I acquiesce to them, and I occasionally post and talk about some stories from Michigan. So this is a Michigan story from Easter Sunday. The annual Great Marshmallow Drop took place in Catalpa Oaks County Park in Southfield, Michigan. I've been to Southfield. You probably have, Karen. I don't know about you, John. Southfield, Michigan. Hundreds of children collected marshmallows dropped from a helicopter. There's a photo of the helicopter dropping marshmallows on hundreds and hundreds of kids in this park. The kids loved it. They absolutely loved it. But one reporter had a large lump on his head, and they showed him to the camera. He said, "As God is my witness, I thought marshmallows were soft." Now, that's a play on a scene from one of the most famous sitcom, WKRP in Cincinnati, and one of their most famous episodes, The Turkey Drop, which was associated with Thanksgiving, and Les Nessman arranged for the station to drop live turkeys from a helicopter. And he said, "It's the owner said, as God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly," which they do, but not when thrown out of helicopters.
Go figure. Go figure that.
Now, John, go figure this. They threw these marshmallows to hungry kids on Easter Sunday, but they told them not to eat the marshmallow because they were on the ground.
Yeah.
Instead, they told the kids to turn them in, and they would give them wrapped candy. Some of the kids immediately were talking about the 5-second rule. And when the judges refused to go along with it, they said that they were going to organize their Young Republican Club to take it to the Supreme Court, because they thought the 5-second rule was in the Constitution.
Oh, boy.
So, John, do you abide by the 5-second rule? If something falls on the floor, you got 5 seconds to eat it?
I'm going to tell you the truth. I do. Yes, I do. Unless it's a food I don't like.
Yeah, there you go. Unless it's like gum and you're in the barber shop or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize this, but there's a history to the 5-second rule, and it goes all the way back to Genghis Khan, the great Mongol leader from, I don't know when, the 13th. John, you're the historian. 1200s maybe? Is that when Genghis Khan?
1300. 1300. Yeah.
So it was rumored that Genghis Khan implemented the Khan rule, which stated that if food fell on the floor, it could stay there as long as Khan allowed, because he believed that it had been prepared for him. It must have been really good and had all kind of germ killing powers. So he allowed people to eat off the floor when it fell until he said it was no longer okay. It didn't work, and people who got sick were referred to the sickness as the wrath of Khan, which was not that, but it was an episode of the second Star Trek movie, for those of you keeping score.
That is correct.
Believe it or not, this rule popped up in 1963 on Julia Child's show. Now, for you kids listening, Julia Child was one of the original television cooks, and she popularized French cooking, even though she wasn't French. Lovely tall lady, cooked all the time, had a high voice, and had a really good sense of humor. So she was making potato pancakes, of all things, on one of the shows, and she attempted to flip it in the pan, and it missed. She missed, and it landed on the stovetop, not on the floor, but on the stovetop. So, honest to God, she looks around and she picks it up and puts it back in the pan and said, "It was only out for 4 seconds. It's okay." So that became, if it's out for 5 seconds, then it's bad. But under 5 seconds, Julia Child says you can eat it. So how about that? No less than Julia Child endorsing the 5-second rule.
You know, as they say, Karen and Paul, there's a
Yep.
reason for everything, right?
Yep.
So,
That's right. There's a reason, it's unbelievable. Okay. So, this was a popular story on Facebook. I'll mention this, that those of you who want to communicate with me can do that easily by friending me on Facebook or sending me a text message or all the other weird things that you do on Facebook. I like to put some of the stories, test them out before we do them on the show. And this one was on Facebook. So Sarah Robbins Cole of Boston claims, and Karen, pay attention here. She claims she wore the same long sleeved, knee length black wool dress every day for 100 days in a row, and no one noticed. Can you imagine that, wearing the same? Here's a picture of the lovely
First
lady
of
and her
all,
love.
it had to be smelly after all that.
really,
Yuck.
I agree. She said no one noticed, so she decided to quit buying new clothes and just wear this same dress forever. Now, she did say that she cleaned the dress every night, or as often as needed. But she must have had to do that in the evening in her underwear when nobody could see her, and then put the dress back. I don't know if she slept in it, but she wore it every day. And then decided to quit buying new clothes. So as far as I'm concerned, she's probably swamped with marriage proposals right now from guys.
a very thrifty lady, very thrifty. Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was an April Fool's joke, but it's not. It was a real thing. She claims, Karen, that she wore this dress to work, on walks, when she sat on the sofa watching Netflix and chilling, and even on Christmas Day. Show me a woman who wears the same wool dress to work, to the gym, and while she's chilling on the couch, and I'll show you a woman who's been kidnapped by aliens, and that's all she has to wear. Because
Yeah, probably because I don't wear the same thing every day. No.
No way. I'll believe this when they show a picture of her husband hanging his suit in her closet, because there's finally a little tiny space in there where he can hang one of his outfits. Because normally, and John, I'm going to guess that you agree with me on this one. You go to your wife's closet, there is not a space you couldn't stick a piece of paper in between the clothes in order to hang your t-shirt or your whatever, something from your closet.
Paul, I'll have to agree with you 100%. I have to agree with you 100%.
My husband has more clothes than I do.
I find, I don't know everything about Rich, and I don't know everything about you either. So this is interesting, but that does surprise me. He has more clothes than you do. Wow.
Yeah. In fact, half of his clothes are in Alex's old closet.
No kidding. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Maybe we'll do a field trip and do another episode on that. Okay, well, we're just sticking with the clothing line for a second here. This is not an April Fool's joke, by the way. The luxury fashion company Balenciaga, must be Italian, unveiled a new bracelet. And I'm going to put a picture of the bracelet up here. For those of you who can't see it, the bracelet looks exactly like a roll of clear packing tape that you use to tape up boxes, or that Amazon uses, except it's actually jewelry, and it sells for, get ready for this, $4,000. Solid. You can see on the inside, instead of saying Scotch, it says Balenciaga, or whatever the name of this company is. So it's got their brand name on it. So that's how your wife, when you give it to her, knows it's the real deal, because it's got the logo in it. What I'm doing, John, I'm ready for this, because once my wife sees it, she's going to want one. So I got a roll of Scotch tape, and I'm trying with a pen to turn Scotch into Balenciaga.
Oh, so it's the right logo there, right? Okay, I get it.
A while, yeah. I'm also working on changing duct tape into Gucci in case they come out with it.
Okay. A little forward thinking there, Paul. Very good.
John, they've done this before. This company has, that's why I thought it was a hoax, but no, they have done this before. They also came out with a leather pouch that looks exactly like a full bag of garbage that they sell for $1,790, and a Kim Kardashian inspired handbag wrapped in yellow and black tape for $3,100.
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
I can't imagine Kim Kardashian going anywhere near a garbage bag. That's what boyfriends are for.
Yeah, really, really.
I mean, she's had plenty of them, so I'm sure she's not the one who dates the NFL NBA players, the Kardashians.
No,
There's one other
that's
Kardashian.
Chloe.
Chloe. Doesn't she date somebody on the Cavaliers?
She did.
Tristan Thompson.
Yeah.
Tristan Thompson. In fact, I think they had a child, didn't they?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I wonder if she's got Chloe, if she's got maybe the Tristan Thompson takes some of the tape that they used to wrap his ankles and gave it to her for a bracelet. I don't know. All right. So there's this lady. We've talked about this lady. This is one of those people. I try not to pick on people who believe in ghosts. Because I can't prove that ghosts do not exist. This lady, though, we've had stories about her on the show many, many times. Her name is Brocarde, and she is a singer. She's a British singer. There she is right there. Lovely lady. I had her on the show many, many years ago, the first time I encountered her, when she announced that she was dating a ghost. That the ghost came to her in the middle of the night with the ghost of a soldier, a 17th century soldier, killed in battle, and he woke her up and introduced himself. Eduardo was his name, and Eduardo the ghost. And he was eventually he wanted to have relations with her, which she claimed she did. We talked about that, although we didn't have any photos. And then she eventually married him, and they had a wonderful life for a little while. And then she claims he started cheating on her, so she wanted to divorce him, but no divorce law. So she had to get an exorcist to come in, exorcise her from her marriage. And then the last story we did, she decided, based on her experience with ghosts, she's going to become a paranormal investigator herself. So now you know almost everything there is to know about Brocarde, except the latest news this week. She has asked the British government to authorize an emergency Ghostbusters service. So she wants them to establish a special 3-digit phone number to call if there's something strange in your neighborhood and you don't know who to call and you want to get a hold of Ghostbusters. She's going to come up. She wants them to establish a 3-digit number. Now, John, do you know it's 911 in the United States. Do you know the 3-digit number in England?
I do not.
You've never been in trouble in England, obviously.
No, I have not been there. I've never been there, so I guess I couldn't be in trouble there.
But he knows. John, going all the way back to when I first met him back in college, he's a member of the Clean Club. John doesn't get into trouble. So I, on the other hand, know that the emergency number in England is 999. So that number is taken, and you don't want to confuse that emergency number with somebody who needs a ghost. So they didn't say what number they were picking. I thought maybe 666 would be good, since that's the mark of the beast from the Bible. But people might be afraid to type 666 on their tap it on their cell phone, or I know they don't have pay phones. But so then I thought maybe 000 or 000, like, which is what you say when you see a ghost. 000. But then I came up with it. BOO, boo. Wouldn't the easiest in the world. BOO. I don't know what those numbers are on the phone. I don't have a phone here to tell you what those numbers might be. But BOO I thought would be perfect. And then I checked, and in England, that's a deodorant it's a deodorant hotline for people who are sitting next to somebody who smells on the bus. So you can call BOO and they'll send somebody out with deodorant and spray them.
Okay.
266.
April Fool's, 3 days late, 2 days late. There you go. All right. Well, I think that we have reached the end of our stories here for this week on What in the World, which means it's time for John DiNallo's What in the World of Sports. So every week I ask my old buddy John, as I mentioned, there we go, there's John's logo there. Every week I ask John, who knows more about sports than anybody I've ever encountered. He's a great trivia guy. I say, John, you know what in the world? Find us a sport that fits in with the theme of real sport, sometimes strange, always funny. And John digs and digs and digs and always manages to uncover a strange, unusual sport that more often than not we've never heard of before. We get a good laugh. Sometimes we wish that we could participate in it. Other times we don't want to have anything to do with it. John's got a great sport for us this week, so I'm going to make sure your photos are lined up. John, tell us what that sport is.
Okay, Paul, will do. Thanks for the intro. So our sport this week originates in Germany.
Oh,
And the name of the sport is Sporthacking. Let me explain. We all know that pretty much anything can be turned into a sport. Look at cup stacking, Quidditch, and beer pong. But if you know German, you already know the meaning of Hacker, and the meaning of Hacker is stool.
oh,
Put it all together, and Sporthacking is the sport of, get ready for this, extreme sitting. Now, wait a second. It's a bit of a misnomer, but in Sporthacking, competitors start out by sitting on a small plastic stool, sitting on a small plastic stool while performing various athletic moves like spinning, kicking, throwing, juggling, sliding, and of course, slamming their bottoms down on the stool. Now, in a sense, Sporthacking is a cross between skateboarding and gymnastics. You may wonder, how did this sport come about? Well, it was invented in 2007 by a pair of German brothers, Michael and Stefan Landschutz, and they are designers by trade. They're digital designers, computer designers by trade. They thought enthusiasts of street sports like skateboarding would love their stool because it's lightweight, but also heavy duty, which allows the hockerer to perform a wide range of tricks, but also offers a convenient sitting down position.
what was that? What did they call them again? Hockerers?
Hockerer, yes, that's correct.
Hockerers. Okay,
Hockerer.
all right, hockerers.
Or someone who was close to the stool. Now, let's leave it at that. Wait. This sport requires a great amount of coordination and physical dexterity in order to be successful at it. Like skateboarding, Sporthacking involves athletes doing various flashy tricks like handstands or twirling while balancing on that small rubber-lined plastic stool. Sporthacking players can also do maneuvers off the stool, but any and all moves must end with their butt on the stool in order to count.
Wow.
Now, Sporthackerers can perform individually or on teams. Although it is not yet internationally known, the sport has caught on tremendously among young people throughout Germany. And this is taking place in nightclubs and also at an obviously German event, which is called Oktoberfest. Now, along the same lines, there are many competitive teams named the Hock Stars and also the Salzig Sporthacker, and the players have colorful names such as Hannes Roth, Hoxer Axel, Mr. Hat, and Filippo. Now, in the U.S., there are Sporthacking competition, which has been held in Las Vegas at an event called SkillCon, and this goes back to 2016. Now, for those of you that are interested in getting started in Sporthacking, you can visit the sport's official website, which also sells various gear, stools, and even tutorials for mastering this extreme sport. And Salzig Sporthocker posts videos showcasing various sport hockey teams on their YouTube channel.
Wow.
So to summarize, is sport hocker or sport hockering a real sport? People laughed when skateboarding was invented and realized that it's now in the Olympic Games. Look at it this way. If you've ever fallen off of a stool, stood up and sat down again, you could eventually become a professional sports hockerer.
Okay.
Well, it's truly a strange sport, folks. I
Yes.
mean, there's no dispute of that. If it goes beyond Germany, I'll keep everybody abreast of that. And exclusive of that little of that event that takes place in Las Vegas, called the SkillCon.
For those of you not looking at the photos, what this reminds me of is clowns at the circus, or acrobats at like Cirque du Soleil, on a TV show where they would balance a board on a cylinder and kind of slide back and forth and do juggle and do stuff like that. It's a little bit like that, these photos of these guys. And I want to point out, it's all men doing this. I didn't see photos of any women sitting on doing anything with these stools, not getting anywhere near these stools.
Isn't it strange, because in skateboarding you wear protective equipment, and they're not with this, and they're doing a lot of high jumps and everything.
Yes, good
Yeah.
observation. You're right. I don't see any of these people wearing helmets or pads, or surprisingly, I don't see any of them holding a glass of beer either. Which,
Yeah, you would think that would be standard equipment.
Yeah.
Stool, the three pieces of it. You've got a stool. You've got an event called Hocktoberfest. There must be beer somewhere.
I'll do more research and let you folks know.
I think so, John. Boy, one of the more unusual. The only sport that I know of that involves a stool, other than boxing, and that's not during the event. It's only in between rounds.
Yeah,
great.
That's true. Of course, yes.
Sports hocking. So I went looking through my photo album to see if we had competed in anything that resembled sport hocking. And I don't know if you remember this, John, but we actually did participate in something that was somewhat similar to this German event. It didn't have a name. But one of the other John and I are fraternity brothers. We belong to Delta Alpha Theta, and we would get challenged by other fraternities to various sports, or events. Let's put it that way. We did a lot of sitting on stools, just not, and it was sports related, because we were usually watching some game on television while we were sitting on the stool, and I'll leave it at that. So we were good at landing on stools, at least. So we were challenged by another fraternity to sit on stools. That was the challenge. You guys think you're good at sitting on stools, so we'll compete with you. So obviously we went to a place that had a lot of stools. And I believe here's a picture of John and I training. So there we go. There's a number of people training to sit on stools, and we were also using our arms. We were exercising our arms, bending our elbows quite a bit to build up our biceps.
Well, that was the 12-ounce curl. That was a 12-ounce curl.
For those of you who can't, I'm sure you can figure out what we're doing. What we didn't know is that we were invited to a special location. The other fraternity was allowed to pick the location of the stool event, and this is the location they picked. So the stools were very
I like those. Yes.
They were something called a bikini stool. which I'd never heard of this. I didn't realize they had a name, but the stools look like a woman's legs. And when the gentleman sits on the stool, the legs are underneath him, and it looks like he has the top half of a man and the bottom half of a woman wearing stockings or a bikini. We obviously would never do something like this, so we forfeited the event, and then we all went to another bar and sat on the stools there.
I remember that now, Paul. Now that you bring that to my attention, yeah, I remember that now. Thanks.
And you believe that this is I would love to go to a bar that had stools like that. I think those are pretty cool. So anyway, that's What in the World of Sports with John DiNallo, and that brings us to everybody's favorite portion of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the co-host. The premise is that I have 3 stories similar to the stories we've been telling all afternoon. One big difference, all of those were real. The stories in Bluff the co-host may be real, they may be a bluff, and it's up to Karen, John, and those of you listening either live or in the future to decide, real or bluff. Wagering is allowed. Although, there's a lot of controversy. We've been getting death threats when people were not winning on Bluff the co-host and losing big money on the Las Vegas the co-host line. Yeah. So please gamble responsibly on Bluff the co-host. Anyways, here's story number one. Hands on the buzzers. Here's story number 1. The big solar eclipse is almost here, but not everyone is happy about it. Take, for example, the workers at a small government solar panel testing facility in Arkansas. The facility is right in the path of the eclipse and will be completely blacked out for at least 3 minutes. As a result, the government is docking the pay of the workers at the facility because they won't be able to test solar panels during the full eclipse. Not only that, they're not allowed to go outside and look at it, even though they're not getting paid. Sure, it's only 3 minutes or so, and at least they have jobs, but some of them are planning to picket the panels on April 8th. The question is, will anybody see them? So, the solar panel testing workers in Arkansas whose pay is being docked because they can't test totally clipped. Real or bluff? We'll start with you, Karen.
Wow. This better not be real because it just is ludicrous that anybody would do that. And if you are in the path of the eclipse, no matter where you're working, put on those glasses, get outside, and observe it.
All right. Karen said that's ludicrous. I thought he was a rapper. Ludicrous. That's a ludicrous story. Karen says it's a bluff. John, how about you?
I'm really on the fence on this one. I'm really on the fence on this one. I kind of think that what Karen says is right because that's preposterous, ludicrous, whatever adjective you want to use for it. But I'm going to go out on a limb on this, and I'm going to say it's a real story because, as the expression goes, it takes all kinds in this world.
Okay, so John says it's not ludicrous. Preposterous is not a rapper, by the way. But John says that's a real story. Karen says it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say the first point in this Bluff the co-host go to Karen. That is definitely a bluff.
Thank God.
Okay, all right. That's good. I'm glad Karen got it right and I got it wrong. That's fine.
Arkansas is in the path of the eclipse. So that much is true. Okay, check the scoreboard. The score is 1-0. Karen's in the lead, but John has been known recently to come back from a deficit. So John's going to put the pedal to the metal or the ball on the floor or whatever he does. And go right to story number 2. In London, a comedian is in trouble for hot dogging, not on stage, but on the subway. He bought ads on the cars showing him eating a hot dog, and no one told him the London Underground has a rule against junk food advertising, even though it's an ad for his comedy show, not for hot dogs. Since it was too late to design a new poster, he got an artist to replace the hot dogs with cucumbers, and the underground censors approved it. Now, all he has to do is rewrite 10 minutes of his act about eating hot dogs. So, the comedian whose poster showed hot dogs, and they were banned by the London Underground because they said it was advertising junk food. Real or bluff? John, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm going to say that this is a bluff. I don't believe it.
Okay. All right.
I will not necessarily give a reason. I normally give reasons for my decisions or my vote, but I'm just going to keep it. I'm going to keep it to myself, and I just say it's a bluff.
Okay, John, gut feel. Gut feel, John says it's a bluff. Karen, how about you?
Well, I wish your Londoner friends were here right now to help me out. But I think it's possible that they can't advertise for junk food. So I'm going to go against the grain and say it's true.
Ooh, okay. So Karen says it's true that you can't advertise junk food, and a comedian got in trouble for showing a hot dog on his poster. John says it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say the points go to Karen. That is a real story.
Wow.
Hard to believe. I was thinking about it. If we couldn't advertise junk food on buses in the United States, we wouldn't have any buses because we advertise junk food on everything.
Sure, of course.
Ooh, John is in a hole here. He's like Iowa playing LSU. He's behind, but like Iowa, John has a way of coming back. So points are doubled in round number 3. So John could conceivably come back. Karen or Karen could run away with it. Let's see what happens. Story number 3. It's a bad sign when your own advertising department misspells the name of your company. And it's a worse sign when the name of your company is KFC and the misspelling is on a sign announcing the opening of a new KFC restaurant in Georgia. Well, make that a KFG restaurant. The embarrassed ad department blamed the mistake on a new employee who thought this was a new name for KFC in Georgia, which begins with a G, but KFC doesn't like messing with its name or its 11 herbs and spices. The employee was forced to work at the new restaurant for a week, apologizing to customers for the confusion until the spelling was fixed on a new sign. Okay, so a KFC sign of all things was misspelled in Georgia. Real or bluff? We'll start with you, Karen.
Well, again, I'm going to say it's real because I've seen things like this happen. And so I'm just going to say, yeah, it's real.
Oh, okay. Karen says misspelled KFC is real. John, how about you?
I'm going to say it's real too. I mean, I can see someone making an error like this. I mean, it's a pretty big error, but people make mistakes all the time, and I'm going to say that it's a real story.
Okay, all right. So Karen and John both say someone in Georgia misspelled KFC as KFG. Let's check with the judges. Wow, this is a shocker. I can't take it. It's so shocking.
Paul, compose yourself there. Compose yourself, please.
Wow. I've never seen the judges go so wild. First off, the judges say they can't award any points because no one got the answer right. That is a bluff.
Oh,
Karen is the winner this week. Wow. I think that
congratulations, Karen. Congratulations for the win. Very good.
Thank you.
And I apologize for getting so worked, but you should have seen the judges jumping up and down. They couldn't believe it. It was just, Karen, you need to win a few more times because the judges can't handle the excitement.
The fact that I got 2 out of 3 right?
Right.
Well, at least you're not 0 for 3 like me.
0 for 3. That's right, John. Well, oh boy. I feel sorry for John's poor wife because she's going to be working those flashcards with John. Oh, but we won't be on next week. This is a good opportunity to mention that we are taking a hiatus next week during the eclipse week, and we'll be back in 2 weeks on our regular day of Tuesday. I believe that's the 16th of April. So
yes, it is. Day after tax day.
Yeah, so poor John's poor wife will be doing those flashcards and going through the dictionary with words and all the other stuff she does to get John in shape for Bluff the co-host. It's
It's going to be a
brutal.
lot of work then. It'll be a lot of work in the next 2 weeks. We'll see if it pays
Surely
off on
will.
the 16th.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, I want to thank our producer, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, and all around great person, Karen Hale. Thank you for everything you do for us at Bluff the co-host at what's the name of the show again? What in the world? What in the world? Karen is also, in addition to being the media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, your source for all kinds of great podcasts. She is also the owner and head coach at Yes I Can Coaching with Karen Hale. So if you need a coach, by all means, check it out on her website, newclevelandradio.net, all kind of information there on how to get in contact with her for coaching. I also want to thank my old buddy, John DiNallo, despite the fact that he's going to be depressed for 2 weeks. I know he'll be back in 2 weeks,
No.
ready to go.
That's why it makes it such a good competition, Karen. We're always striving to do better. So that's what you
That's
can.
right.
There you go.
And,
There you
and
go.
he
That's
can't
what we
be,
try to do.
and he can't be depressed because we have the Final Four women's here this
Oh,
weekend.
yeah.
A lot of basketball to watch, so we're all in good
Yep.
shape.
Yeah.
And
The
also,
place to be. The place
Yeah,
to be
and
is
also-
Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, this
Yes.
weekend. I think, well, we just lost John there for a second. Place to be is Cleveland, Ohio. We've got the Eclipse. We've got the women's Final Four. The Cavaliers probably play somewhere in there. The Guardians have their home opener. So a lot of stuff going to be happening. If you're in
And the
Cleveland,
Panthers play
Oh,
Friday
the
night and
Panthers.
Sunday. They're back home on
Panthers are
Sunday.
the lacrosse team, the men's lacrosse team in Fort Worth.
Yep.
Our special friends are our designated lacrosse team. So good luck to them as well. And last but not least, I want to thank all of you for listening. You're the reason why we do the podcast every week. I hope you have as much fun listening as we do putting it on. We wouldn't do it without you. So thank you again. Let us know. Watch the videos, like them, follow them, whatever you have to do. You can contact me on Facebook. Contact Karen through newclevelandradio.net. Please let us know that you're out there. And I think that is it for this week. So we will see you in 2 weeks. Karen, any last parting words?
No, just good luck on your trivia contest that you guys are going to.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, John and I will be competing for our fraternity and our college tomorrow night at a trivia contest. We will probably be sitting on stools too. So we may be talking and trivia participating all at once. So I think that'll be a good time. So we will fill you in on how it went when we come back in 2 weeks.